And hands swirling, seeking places to settle, if only for a moment, but release remedies in the faintest of quantities. It is the act of getting comfortable, whether every morning or every night or in every moment that we seek. Comfort together with creation, expression together with compassion. It is the coming back around, the end of the search for the perfect spot. This is why we circumambulate.
Hey everybody, today on the podcast we have my good friend and interesting fella, Michael Murphy. That's not how I say your name?
Yeah,
right.
Right.
So this leads into your alter ego is Smurph.
Smurphy. So Smurphy is a nickname that I've had since middle school. People just kind of, there were a bunch of Michaels in my circle of friends. Mm-hmm. My last name was Murphy.
Yeah.
And then so people, it just kind of happened. And like,
awesome.
I don't know.
You know what? My friend Zach takes the name Oz. And I think that, I know a lot of people take a name, and I bring this up a lot, but it helps you take the form of your art.
Yeah, and so, like, Smurfy, I describe as my more ecstatic self.
So does your ecstatic self represent a more creative side of, like, your identity or your personality?
Yes, because I look at it as a state-dependent definition. Mm. So if I'm in a place and in an environment where it can exist, like, it's beyond like a mundane reality. Like, some people strive to create it all the time, but I think it's more of like an occasional thing. It's like a festival thing. Mm-hmm. Like, people have festival names. They go by them sometimes exclusively at those events, like those places, those environments.
Oh, like burner names.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. They're characters.
Interesting. Well, I know that a lot of DJs go by some really interesting names, like Soma Toast or Mindex or...
yeah, and they're names. They're characters. It's the creative outlet of themselves. So Smurfy is, like, I say ecstatic self, and that's when I'm in that ecstatic form of, like, dancing and just kind of clowning around.
Now,
it's character.
Ecstatic energy reminds me of your laughter workshop. Just right off the bat, like, I can just dive right into that. So, like, I've never done a laughter yoga workshop, but if I were to do it, I imagine it'd be pretty goofy. Yeah,
it's as goofy as the people want it to be. By nature, it's kind of silly. Like, so it's more like a comedy improv, like, group activity than a yoga class. Huh. So, and the way that it's, like, you pair off with people, there's only really two rules, and the two rules are, one, don't bring judgment into the circle, and two, make eye contact. And then the actual activities themselves, like the asanas, they're like little, like, improv pieces to just kind of, like, you walk through emotion. Like, there's one that's the mind floss laughter, where you act like you're flossing your brain, and each time you pull, it like tickles a little bit, so you're like, and you make the sounds, and you make eye contact with somebody, and then they make the sounds, and it goes back and forth. And it's all built off this principle that the founder of it, like, he's a cardiologist, and he did like a longitudinal study on the effects of laughter, and his results were that laughter is really good for the body, has lots of health benefits. And the second part of that was that genuine laughter is the same as forced laughter. Forced laughter produces the same effects. The body doesn't know the difference. Exactly. See? And then if you believe it and you, like, really don't carry judgment without those actions, you will start laughing and you will reach those ecstasy states, and it creates like all kinds of other resonant, like, shifts in the body.
Now that, if I may, that philosophy, it's not exactly mainstream, but it seems so obvious,
intuitive. Yeah.
And I guess it's a little upsetting to admit that I've separated away from the idea of that in certain times, but I mean, I think that it can be the best tool when you're in the deepest grief. I mean, finding comedy in something can sometimes save you.
Yeah. That's something that I've really fallen into a lot, like kind of like my full philosophy of laughter, and it's gone definitely in that direction. So I think like Alan Watts talks about the cosmic joke, and that's an idea that's come up a lot in philosophical discussion.
Don't make me laugh.
Exactly.
I've always wanted to say that. It's one of the best lines from a movie or an anime ever, and it's totally applicable here. But please continue about the cosmic joke. It's just, I had to land that one.
Yeah, for sure. So, cosmic joke is that no matter what you do in life, or no matter what circumstances you are in, sometimes there are things that are just impossibly heavy or hard to handle. It's a grief, it's sadness, it's despair, it's injustice, it's all kinds of different... Anger falls into it too. Negative emotion. You can't do anything to stop all of it because it's a part of life. But you see the pain that it causes. So the cosmic joke is just like understanding that you don't have to suffer with that just because it exists. You can like laugh at it. You can just let joy come through just for the sake of it being joy. Just you transmute that negativity into positivity. But at the same time, it takes a full like submission to what is going on. Both sides are real. Both sides...
It takes an alchemy.
Yeah, it is an alchemy. And
But what do you mean by that? Or what do we mean by that, I should say? Because that term alchemy isn't exactly the most physically tangible concept, right?
Yeah, well, alchemy, like, in this form, laughter, it's an action. So it's going to be the eye contact, and it's going to be hand motion, it's going to be facial features. When you put yourself in a social situation like that, that's the yoga of laughter, because you are... Like, even though the content isn't there, you're still enjoying the benefits, and you're enjoying the space and the energies transferred between people.
I love that.
It's stripped of its jokes, because... And that was... Originally, laughter yoga was circles of people sitting in parks and telling jokes. And then after a couple weeks of doing that, the jokes kind of turned dirty or sexist, and people didn't enjoy them as much. Some people were starting to get hurt by them.
Yeah.
And then the creator, Nadam Kataria is his name, he went back to his study and saw that they could just use like placebo effects, like just act like you're laughing. So fake it.
Nadam Kasari?
Nadam Kataria.
Nadam Kataria.
Kataria, yeah.
Kataria. I kind of rolled my R for some reason. I took a lot of Spanish.
Well, there's probably a much clearer pronunciation.
Kataria.
Yeah, Kataria.
It's kind of like Guitaria.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah,
but yeah. So Nadam Kataria.
Horrible at going off on tangents.
He's the founder of Laughter Yoga, and he also leads the Laughter University in India.
What?
Yeah, and so I got certified through this. I did it for the first time in Thailand with somebody who was certified through the school, and like there's a network here in the United States. It's really inexpensive and quick to get certified. It just takes like, you have to be able to do it or want to do it, I guess.
It's a charitable thing.
It really is though. Like I've never charged for it. I've like gone to festivals for it, but I always feel like big groups come out and people talk about it, and people talk about coming back to it like time after time, so they enjoy it. I've done it in nursing homes, and like that's a really different crowd, completely different experience. But at the same time, the joy and the benefits, like so readily, like people are happy.
So, I love what you're saying, because there's just so many things to branch off into, like the idea that, not just doing yoga poses is yoga. In my last episode with Greg, we talked about how painting is his yoga and his religion and stuff, and I love that concept that if you have something that you're really into that makes you feel alive, like you're experiencing God's self, or something outside of yourself that you might consider to be God or whatever, it might just be nature. If you feel one with nature, that in my opinion could be good enough.
Yeah. Well, and John Muir definitely could have been a yogi, like just walking around, Well, like that is a communion with nature, is just experiencing it and being with it, being with the breath. Like yoga, like I don't know. I'm not a yoga teacher. I've never been trained in it, but it seems pretty simple. It's just like the patterns you do every day.
Oh, I see what you did there. It was very sly, Michael. Smurph, I should say. Anyway, you know what? in my mind, it's an interesting thing to think about how laughter yoga, if it is indeed a yoga, it could be tied into like the beliefs of reincarnation. What if, and you were talking about how people talk about coming back to laughter yoga. I personally am drawn to this idea, and I've never formally done yafter loga. I've never formally done any yafter loga, but I think that maybe if it was a real part of yoga, people might incarnate just to do it.
Yeah, like, I feel like my core philosophy right now, my core like life path even, is like spreading laughter.
That's so beautiful. Thanks.
Yeah, it's like spreading joy. Like, and I think the best way to spread joy, at least that I've come through, is through laughter. And whether that's something like really to laugh at, and like just because it's that cool or whatever. I laugh when I see something that's just like super awesome.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a better way to just celebrate on the spot. There's not like etiquette about laughter. What's laughter? Well, I guess there is laughter etiquette. Right?
Well, yeah, like you're not supposed to just like bust out laughing at somebody's funeral. It's not the best idea. But at the same time, like if you do it and you have an explanation for it, I don't know, weird things happen. That crosses into the realms of like magic. When something's like so unexpected, it's funny. That's like what I would call magic. Like, and that's a different kind of laughter.
Yeah, there's levels of laughter. Like there's actually levels of laughter that are like revealing of guilt. Like people will laugh when they've gotten away with stuff. And it's part of telling somebody's lying to you. Or I've heard that professionals can analyze people's behaviors based on how they're laughing at certain situations, and that's a little conceited, and a little neurotic, if I'm being honest. But
I want one of those people to come to a laughter yoga class where one of the exercises is how many different kinds of laughs can we do in a minute, and so everyone just goes like whoa, yeah, and they'd be like
dude, that laugh, dude, that is amazing. That laugh is like, dude, we can make just laughs. We can make a whole genre of music that's like laugh step.
I've thought about it. Let's do this. Like, this is something that I want to do. Like,
you know what's funny?
We could just do sound packs of different weird laughs, and we could like get groups of people. We can like, I don't know. There's so much we could do with this.
Michael, you know what's so funny? We're circumambulating right now. In the beginning, you read that poem that you wrote for me 2 years ago at Sonic Bloom, but we forget that the first Sonic Bloom you and I ever were hanging out around, you recorded me for a sound workshop that you took.
I forgot about that. I have those recordings on my laptop. Yeah.
What did I say? I said, imagination is greater than or equal to reality. And I still think that. But thanks for recording me, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that seed has grown.
That's a big circumambulation, 2 years.
Yeah.
And we just got to the other side. Now we have to get back to where we started.
Oh, yeah, I guess I do have to go back to Sonic Bloom. Honestly.
Yeah, a couple years.
Every time I go to that festival, it's fucking awesome, dude.
Yeah, it was great last year.
So, you know what? That festival has really inspired me in its workshop series specifically to do workshops at Co-Creation Music Festival. And honestly, like, I realized that, that last podcast with Greg, it didn't really talk too much about what it was going to be, because just, honestly, I was kind of, like, amazed that I was having this wizardly conversation with this person, and he's just so modest. It was really easy to just pick his brain, but Co-Creation Music Festival, can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited.
Okay, so basically, Michael is teaching a workshop, the first workshop on Saturday, called Laughter Yoga, and it's a new festival that's being created by this weekly gathering of it's loosely based around the Burning Man community and the psychedelic bass music movement. And what we're doing is creating 2 solid days of the best electronic music that we could book. Literally, we kind of had to like tussle with Dave Tipper to get, well, we didn't, it wasn't like a competition, but we were trying to book people that he was trying to book at the same time.
I'm just glad that Mindex is going to come through and that like Somatos can still play his set.
You know what? So Mark is actually doing a rock star, and he's like playing one night in Astrolights, and then playing, it's like flying into Austin or the reciprocal of this to play at Co-Creation, and that's some trooper stuff, man.
Yeah.
But
I'm gonna be stoked.
Yeah, dude.
I am stoked.
It's honestly, it's the best music to dance to. It's like the people who make this music make it for people to dance to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that sounds kind of...
So I saw Mindex at Lighting the Moon this summer, and then he played in Fayetteville the next weekend.
What's Lighting the Moon?
Lighting of the Moon. It was a small festival at the New Haven Church grounds in outside Ava, Missouri. It was a really cool festival. Like, it was like half conscious, like spiritual gathering and half music festival, and they didn't totally like mesh. It was interesting. There was a few people that would cross the lines, but it was like two cohabitating festivals. They were like circumambulating each other.
yes, and I tried to take that situation as like a possible contingency, and in doing so, I was able to book a lot of like the most friendly people that applied for workshops, because I think that having workshops is actually what makes this kind of gathering more than like the cliche rave, which is just like you know pounding bass music. And then the art makes it special too. The live painters there's going to be 50 plus live painters, but with workshops, that's like rare for me to experience, like really applicable workshops that make a big impact on my life. But I love to invest in those times, dude.
Yeah, and I love workshops at festivals, and like to kind of bounce through a bunch of stuff that's been said on it. Like, I was inspired by Sonic Boom just as well. Like, the quality of the content, like the depth of content that they can fit into those hour-long workshops is incredible.
Yeah.
And that inspired me to seek out workshops at other festivals, because it was so easy to do it there, where other festivals it's normally like a smaller block of time.
Yeah.
And then I'm blessed, coming from Arkansas. The Flux Festival workshop series is fantastic.
We teamed up with Flux to make this.
Absolutely, yeah. And I've led laughter yoga classes at 2 different Fluxes now. And it's always like lots of people come out, but what I've noticed and what I've seen in my own like experience through festivals and other gatherings is the exchange of information, like teaching workshop environment where you're teaching people things and connecting on that level. That opens up a lot of the community building. And then you have other workshops that are more like authentic relating, so it's a calmer environment, more even like closer, tighter connections. Those connections being made, even if it's just one circle, that they're being made at all at that festival intentionally. That's really beautiful, and that's building community. Those people are going to be connected, and they're going to continue in that environment, and it grows. Like, that is how you build the community. So I think the workshop series, the workshop environment, and just having them at all, like making that an opportunity, an availability, that's what really like ensures its growth, ensures its life.
I think you're so right, Michael. The reality of being an artist today is that it's very hard due to saturation in the market. Like, there's like the good thing about the saturation is it really lends itself to the reality checking fact that people are waking up more and more seeing that being an artist is the way to live. Granted, there needs to be infrastructure for any sort of life on Earth, and we wouldn't have prospered in the way that we had if it weren't for some sort of industrial push. And I'm talking about technological advances, but art and the way that we can express our ideas is what the technology of the body is all about. Like, I find that this human form that people take is more or less the tool that we use to communicate what we're here, or what we think we're here to do. And I think that, if you think you know what you like to do, that's better than not knowing anything about why you're here on Earth. And then that's depression. It's just like, I'm not worth going through the issue. It's grief, it's just loss and stuff like that. And I know that there's people who have tried to be an artist who have latched on to people whose job it is to make people famous, and that brings a certain dose of misery, because people become your fans, but where's your community?
Yeah.
And so,
Absolutely.
and I mean, personally, as an artist and a musician who's trying to make it, I've realized that community that you're talking about building is one of the only ways that life survived in the first place. It's a tribal mindset, but it's not one that hasn't evolved. You know, like, sure, we're not just making cave paintings anymore, but those are the things that have preserved through history that stand out to me. And I think that that same artistic novelty is what is creating such a wave with this festival. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like the more new or weird or interesting something is, you could say it's not, you know, novelty. When I first thought of it as a word, I thought of like Las Vegas. I love Las Vegas t-shirts, you know, like a novelty store.
Yeah.
But now I can't think of it in another way other than like this weird prevailing creativity that's just like
Something new.
yeah, exactly.
That's what the word means.
And it's not an unnatural thing, is it?
No, it's not an unnatural thing, and what the festival environment seeks to create, I think, like with the lights and the sounds and the art and all of these things coming together, and then you have like influx of workshops and other like challenging ideas. You are creating that novelty. You're creating space for that novelty. That's the same space that when I really connected in, that's when I feel I'm in my ecstatic self. That's when it's everything else can drop aside and you can just really tap into the moment and experience bliss with people who are on that same level. It's people who have like learned together through workshop series. They've related together through like facilitated relation. They've danced together. They've been fans together through their like networked internet channels.
What if...
Which so many different layers fall together at those spots, at those gatherings.
So what if that, you know, and I love what you said about bliss, how like people are experiencing that on a, like, really. And what if bliss, and it's kind of a beautiful thing that's kind of gut-wrenching, but what if bliss is the prevailing novelty in the world right now? Like, what if that's such a new thing that it just has to bloom? You know, it has to be because it's the new creative force in the universe, or like the primordial evolution of nature at this point, and like going into nature and throwing down with the homies is you know, as old as the drum circle.
Yeah.
But
it's still the novelty for some reason.
Well, it's novel because we've got like because we've got 6 foot tall, 3 foot wide giant subwoofers that are shaking the earth that you can stand in front of. And it's the craziest, most technologically advanced music that exists on the planet currently.
Yeah.
That's pretty novel. I mean, it takes that combination of technology, nature, and setting, and then like just like pure uninhibited, like kind of almost like it's like just guilt-free creativity. It's just like everybody's just like with their hands in the air, like, ah, yes, like, at least I know it's that way for me personally, because I've never had the sound system set up this large before. It's apparently like the first full setup of the entire Hennessy sound system.
Oh, cool.
I know. I'm like, oh, that gets me excited because
they had Hennessy sound at Lighting the Moon.
Honestly, dude, and we're actually having Sean Hennessy, the creator of Hennessy Designs, do a workshop at Co-Creation.
Nice.
Ah! Now, you know what? This is actually the first time I've got butterflies in my stomach about the festival. Whew. I'm stoked, dude.
It's bringing me a lot of joy.
Yeah. I can hardly contain myself. It's hard to think that somewhere amongst all the workshops, well, I'm probably just going to set up painting next to the workshops if people are okay with it. I don't know how that would be received. I actually kind of feel weird about it because it might be distracting.
It might be, but I don't think people get really loud around the paint. I guess painters can set up.
The thing is like, I love painting to like podcasts, which are a lot like workshops.
So, well, you
Like,
just ask the painting community if they want to listen on the workshops or listen to the music. Like, and they can always move, too.
Well, it might just be me. Like, like I will ask people, but I want to hear a lot of these things. Like, the reason I picked a lot of these workshops was so that I could hear what's going on at them.
Yeah.
Okay. So, festivals in general have seemed to be a key component in your life for the last few years. Is that a safe assumption?
Yeah, it's kind of like in the last like 4 or 5 years, I've gone to a lot, like 10 to 15 a year.
Well, maybe I can simplify it to just travel.
Yeah.
So that you've been traveling quite a bit. Like, nomad is a great word.
Yeah, in the last year, mostly, about a year, I've really considered myself like a neo-nomad.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, why?
Why? I don't know. I enjoy life more deeply. I feel like I'm learning quicker and more interesting like things. I feel like I have the space to take care of my body and my mind the way that I really feel I need to, which takes hours of every day. Like, that's yoga, that's meditation, that's reading, and things that when I am stationary working a job, at least any job that I've been able to find in the stationary places I want to live, fitting that balance, I felt constrained and I felt like I'm missing. And since I've been traveling, as soon as I started, I knew it's exactly what I'd made the right decision. And moving around from like event to event, seeing all different kinds of places all over the country and a few other countries like outside of the U.S. It's just been I don't know. It's just been great.
I really respect the traveling artist. I consider you an artist because you make poems, and I've kept your poem up by my radio for over a year now. So in my heart, I think of you as a very creative person.
Thank you. It means a lot.
And I was talking about how the artist that has a sense of urgency within them is so respectable to me. And I think that applies right now. And I just want to tell that to you, that I really respect your adventure, because I've decided to do the opposite. And hunker down.
Well, say mine's come to an end. I'm gonna be settling down in Fayetteville, Arkansas.
Oh wow!
Next week, actually, the week after.
I'm so glad you made it back safe here, so I can tell you thank you for your travels, because I'm sure that you picked up a little bit of something everywhere you went and brought that somewhere. Brought that special thing somewhere too, and that real communication is what this podcast is all about. And I don't think that there are a lot of people who are traveling like that, bringing laughter to other people. That kind of work is something that it should be like tax deductible or something like that, but you don't charge for it, so it's like...
Well, some people do charge for it. Like, it's also done, like the workshop kind of, it transmutes well into like corporate structure. They can do, like big companies can hold like laughter yoga sessions for their employees as like a bonding thing.
Yeah.
And it works, and they'll pay hundreds of dollars for a session. It's kind of like
whatever works, man.
But I haven't sought that out really. That's just why I haven't done
it. Fair up.
Yeah.
Fair up. That sounds good.
Yeah.
That's church, dude.
But yeah.
That's pretty cool. Can you tell me about the first time you experienced like that you initiated laughter yoga and then felt the effects of it?
Yeah, so it was
Can you walk me through it?
After learning about laughter yoga, I realized I've been doing it my whole life. It was one of those like very intuitive, like, oh, duh, moments. Yes. But the first time I did it was in Thailand. I was staying on the island Koh Phangan, and it's like this. It's known mostly for the full moon party that happens on there. It's like this big like psytrance rave that happens on this beach.
Whoa!
And like 10,000 people will boat in from like the surrounding area.
That's awesome.
Like for the weekend, get wasted, just all alcohol mostly. And then they leave the next day. It's just like a one-night thing.
Okay.
But on the other side of the island, there's this little hippie town called Shrotanu.
Yeah.
And it was the home of the Agama School of Yoga. They recently like closed down because of really intense
allegations.
Yeah, like sexual allegations of the leader. And
oh wow!
When I went there, the vibe that I felt very much matched with that. It was like culty, but weird culty, like uncomfortable.
Well, see, that's why I thank you for going there, because you're a messenger and it's important.
Yeah.
Please continue about Thailand.
But Thailand, yeah. So Shrotanu, one of the days that I was there, and it was like I had nothing to do, and I remember just being like, I'm gonna get on Facebook for the first time in a week, and I'm gonna go to something that like pops up. Pulled out my phone, looked at Facebook events for that area. There was like a Facebook group, Kopanyan Spiritual or Conscious Community is what it's called. And in that Facebook group, they posted events. One of the events, the first event that was on there that was happening like in 45 minutes was laughter yoga. And I was just like, fuck yeah, I gotta try this. And so I got on my scooter, rode across town, and showed up, and it was the facilitator and one other guy. And he was like hesitant to do it because he normally is like, it's like there's not enough people to really get the like resonant effects. You need like 8 people to really make it worth it. And yeah, but we both were like, well, we're willing to like pay for it anyway. Like the 3 of us are here. Like what can we do? And so he decided like he was gonna hang around for it. And so the 3 of us, like 3 guys, just started doing laughter yoga. And so laughter yoga is supposed to be this like big community thing where you like, without having done it, it doesn't make the most sense. But you pair off and you pair off differently. And there's some things that are done as a big group. And with 3 people, it's difficult because there's only certain activities that you can do.
Oh yeah.
Like that are in the actual laughter yoga program. But so he led us through all the ones that we could do. But the 3 of us, like we just like synced up really well, and we all just were like in it. Like we were like hysteric, like rolling on the floor laughing for most of the different things we were doing. And like he had lots of different like really physical stuff, like physical activities like incorporated with it. Some laughter yoga leaders will do that, some don't. Like no laughter yoga class is the same. Because it's like a pool of activities you pick from, and then they teach you to teach your own or like to create your own. But yeah, so his were like very like monkey-like and physical and like moving around, and he called them more laughter games is really like the way he explained it. But you do it with the laughter yoga principles. You make eye contact and you laugh the whole time. And we were feeling it really hard. And so after like that session, and he was like, yeah, that was great that like all of us were able to get into that like really, really easily. Like doesn't always go that way. I was like, I really want to like pursue this more. So when I got back to the United States like a couple months later, I looked up the like laughter yoga classes that were being offered. There was one in Minneapolis, so I drove up to Minneapolis and did 3 days of laughter yoga certification class and got my like little sheet of paper. But yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, right. And then and when I was up there, we went and we did a session with like at a nursing home.
That's awesome.
And it was awesome.
A nursing home?
Yeah. And she does it every week at this nursing home. And my class, the funny part
afterwards or anyway?
It was like the last day of our class. The last day of my class was World Laughter Yoga, or World Laughter Day.
Well, so they at the nursing home weren't doing it until you had done it, and they still do it now?
No. My teacher had been teaching at the nursing home. She did it once a week, and she brought her students.
Okay, I was going to say, that's amazing!
No. They did it at this nursing home, or she would do it at this nursing home.
Still amazing.
Yeah, still amazing. It really was. It was really cool. Like, and there were a lot more people that turned out to it than I thought, and it was on World Laughter Day, which I thought was really funny. Like, so like that was the day I graduated laughter yoga class was on World Laughter Day.
Ooh. Oh, that's very potent.
Yeah, right? It was great. And the funny part, like the parallels between Thailand and my class
what
was
a smelly
3
synchronicity,
people.
man.
Right? Yeah, my class was 3 people. It was myself, one other student, and the teacher. So it was like my first laughter yoga class was 3 people. I got trained in a class of 3 people, and then I've had much more people come out to laughter yoga since then.
You know what? It's like any laughter yoga class under 8 people or under 5 people is a training session, it seems like.
Basically, it's really intense, like really deep. You got to be ready for it.
Oh, did I just say that on a podcast? Hey, you want to do some laughter yoga? I was actually about to ask you if we could do laughter yoga, just like one exercise.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
All right, we've gathered in my living room with a group of people, including Melanie Rose and Kara Bishop, my girlfriend. And Michael's here to instruct us, but we're about to go through a brief demonstration of an exercise you can do for laughter yoga. So here we go.
Yeah, I'm going to go through 3 really quickly. But the first one, my teacher, her name's Sarah Routman out of Minneapolis. She invented this one, and I like to start off with it. It's kind of fun. It's called Smile Ups. So we're not actually going to start laughing yet, but we're going to start building those energies. So you're going to go from a blank face to the biggest smile you can make, and we're going to go through, let's do 5. So ready? 1, make eye contact. 2, don't forget about that.
With everybody?
Just whoever. All right, now down to rest. 2. Back down to rest. Ready for 3? 3. And then back down to rest. 4. All right, now let's get the biggest one you got. And 5. Okay, and back down. Okay, so that's Smile Ups. That's kind of warming your face up. If, like, you can probably feel some changes, maybe, like, in your face, stretching it out, the muscles. Awareness is a big part of the laughter yoga idea. And I want to do a communal exercise for our first real laughing exercise. So I'm going to go around a circle, and we're going to share our favorite animal, and then we're going to laugh as that favorite animal together. So my favorite animal is a sloth, and a sloth laughs like So everybody together, sloth like sloth.
I guess mine's a cat, and so it would laugh like meow.
My favorite animal is an alpaca. It would probably laugh like he.
Alright, my favorite animal is Kara Bishop, and she laughs like That's perfect, Kara.
Thank you.
Okay, and then I'm gonna do it lightly, but to separate them, clapping is a really good way to release like kind of excess energy. So to bring attention back down and clap together, and I'll be like, very good, yay, and everybody do it with me, very good, yay. So that's kind of like a way to balance things out. We can go into one more activity. This one, let's do, so this is a yoga posture that turns into a laughter yoga posture. So the lion's breath it's a breathing technique. So to do that, you stick your tongue out as far as you can, you reach your neck forward, and you exhale sharply. But we're gonna do it as the lion's laugh. So we're gonna, very good, yay!
Yay!
So that's a couple quick introductions to laughter yoga.
This is ridiculous.
Yeah, it is very ridiculous, but at the same time, you feel those energies building, like you're moving air in and out of your lungs, like you're doing the motions, your body's going through it, and it'll start to heat up the body, it'll start to really bring attention to your breath. It does a lot of the things that yoga does just by going through silly exercises. And then what you do after you build these energies, you go into meditation. So can be like stop and like calm breathing meditations. We've done 2. Let's go ahead and do 1 breathing. So we're all seated down. Feel your body like resting on the floor, and take a deep breath and down in your gut. And bring your attention to the solar plexus, the area right above your navel. Between there and the sacrum, just below the navel, are where laughter energies build. So if you focus that energy, you focus on that spot, that's your ab, that's what's working when you're laughing. Focus that energy and allow it to come up into the heart, into the head. Breathe deeply. And then we could go on to the next one. Exactly.
Very good, yeah.
Well, we go into directly into we go like the mind floss.
Okay. Okay, so like, can you basically describe like the motions you're doing for that?
Yeah,
for the
so
listeners?
to make it more like, I guess, ecstatic in a way, to more of an activity, and to amplify the laughing energy, really. It's like it's just a silliness that kind of breaks down that boundary and gets people really genuinely laughing. They're hand motions. So each activity is some kind of action. So the mind floss laugh is like you imagine running a piece of dental floss through your brain, and as you pull on it, it tickles. So
Through
you
your
laugh
ears,
with
right?
it. Yeah, and you make eye contact and just laugh as you're like pulling the string between ear to ear. Yeah, it's kind of like comedy improv where you're doing random things, like almost like charades, but you're laughing as you do it. Instead of trying to be understood, you just laugh at it for the sake of laughing.
Dude, I wish I could
Cosmic
floss
joke.
my mind.
You can't.
Let's try it, guys.
Yeah. And so we're all smiling. I feel the energy has lifted.
Oh my gosh.
Service or
Yeah, that definitely worked.
right.
I definitely feel like there's a relationship to how goofy you are and how optimistic you are in life. Do y'all have anything to share about what you just experienced?
I liked it. I would like continue doing this, or I'd look into it to be more informed and like continue this. It honestly seems like something I do before getting like my vocal lessons, because it makes me feel like I'm more attached to my body and like present.
Yeah, I could feel a lot of power beneath that, like the power that was kind of building.
Yeah, your meditation description helped me imagine it better. So, you're a good teacher, Michael.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, yeah, and so there is a lot there. In typical sessions, 45 minutes long, but the cure to laughter through research is 15-second intervals for 15 minutes a day. So if you do that much, it'll change your life. And people who are generally happy and like well aligned with their lives, I think, get that laughter in a typical day already. Like that's when you're in community around people that you mesh with. But for people that don't, or maybe the days that you don't, laughter yoga can be done by yourself. It can be done with other people. Like, I don't know, it's always there. And you're in luck because I'm going to be doing it at Co-Creation Saturday at noon. Come laugh with me.
Perfect breakfast.
Perfect
Yes.
breakfast. Solar building breakfast.
Right. But I eat too. Alright, so there you have it. Smurph recommended 15 minutes of forced or real laughter every day. Keeps the doctor away. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you so much. Alright, bye.
Thanks.
Oh, thank you. Yay!
Yay!
And we're back in the RV. Michael.
Teleportation.
Wait, what?
Teleportation.
Yes. Traveling through planes with our body is a form of transportation / teleportation. I guess you could theorize that it is illogically impossible that a mass of atoms just conglomerates to create the self, and then it moves across like another intangibly small and infinitely separated like conglomeration of molecules that's floating around in like an even more vaguely infinite expansive void. It's like, why even think about it like that? Just laugh, right?
Just laugh about it, right?
Just laugh.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. So, one thing I wanted to ask you about that laughter workshop, which was awesome, by the way. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was like a injection of enzymes to my mind and in my household family. So I know we all appreciate that, but so can you give laughter therapy to somebody by tickling them? Like, is that okay? I want to ask you that.
If it's consensual.
If it's consensual. So have you ever heard of people like paying to get strapped down to like examination tables or like a dentist chair and then being like, do it, and then they have like people tickle them?
Have I heard of this? No. But could I imagine it? Yeah?
I have an overactive imagination. Like, let me just say.
Yeah, that would probably fall within the benefits of it, but laughter yoga is very much built on consensual touch. Like, no real touching is involved unless some activities, but consent is really big in the entire practice.
So when you tickle somebody against their will, it's not consensual, is it?
No. It's not.
All right, I think we can
against their will is not consensual.
And that's all I wanted to talk about today. And thanks for coming.
Point made.
Yeah, let me just say right now that if you tickle somebody, you're gonna get it. You're gonna get it. You will
Where's
be.
this coming from? Where's this coming from?
I was tickled by my uncle and my family when I
it.
was little, and so when I laugh, I just remember laughing to the point where I didn't want to laugh anymore.
See, so you dove so deep into the trauma that you laughed it off. Like, that was a defense mechanism. That's tickling.
No, I mean, like, it tickled so much. I just couldn't stop laughing, and then I peed myself, and...
Oh, no.
Yeah, now we're laughing about it, and...
Right? Laughter's the best medicine. Well, it's a medicine.
do you like this? What do you notice about this laugh? Ha, 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 ha.
Hesitant.
I mean, so I guess okay, I'm just joking and entertaining right now, of course, but there's a type of laugh that makes you want to cringe, right?
I guess it depends on the person, both on both ends, but yeah, that can happen.
See, I feel like if someone's laughing at me, then it's like a weapon, right? And this is all being brought up just to show the power of laughter.
Yeah, yeah. I've thought about that a lot. I was thinking about this last night, actually, like weaponized laughter. And yes, it can hurt, but I think it comes down to and then this crosses into weird, like, victim blaming almost, but it comes to the person that is being laughed at. Do you get angry about it? Do you get sad about it, or are you just going to laugh with them just for the sake of laughing at it? Like, if it is an injustice, you can call them out. It can bring in more, but I feel like if you just, like, laugh along with them, like, I don't know, you're in on like the next layer of their joke. That they're, I don't know.
No, that makes sense. It takes a certain level of, like, I mean, you have to, like, nobly ascend to a point where you're, like, not attached to the discomfort of your ego, and that's what a roast is, right?
Yeah.
Like, you just get in the chair, and then people tear you a new asshole, and everybody's laughing at it, but you're laughing with them, right? Mm-hmm. And I guess that kind of ego death or something like that is it's almost it's not for the faint of heart, but it is still like a quantum of a certain appreciation of laughter.
It's really tapping into the cosmic joke. It's like, how deep does it go?
Yeah, comedy is described as tragedy plus time, right? And I see that in my own life because I laugh about being tickled to the point where I peed myself, and, like, to this day, if my uncle points his finger at me, he can, like, tickle me without touching me.
Tapping into how strong that, like,
yeah, dude.
Was.
Yeah, and I'm like, nah, dude, get away from me.
You start laughing about it.
Yeah, dude. Like,
it's like a laughter supernova in your timeline.
Yeah, now I'm worried he's gonna like ascend to being able to tickle me from the grave. Like, I'll just wake up.
That's not how ascension goes. He'll reincarnate as something that you get to laugh at.
Like, he'll reincarnate as, like, a cockroach that crawls up my pants and, like, tickles the fuck out of me in my sleep, and I, like...
He might, that spirit might be in every time you've ever laughed uncomfortably.
Right, and I'll have to, and I'll be screaming in the moment, but laughing about it much later, and...
Your avatar of laughter in life was your uncle.
Yeah, totally. Well, to be honest, I think the key to comedy, or let me try to say this differently. A large facet of a comedy is appreciation, and, like, actually applying listening skills, and tapping into someone else's idea of or just ideas in general, and that kind of attention giving is such a great gift for people. And it's not just healing, it's also that appreciation tool that I was talking about earlier. I heard Steve Vai say that appreciation is the strongest tool that you can give to people, and I don't think that he meant that in a magic sorcery way where like you win people over by saying, by like brown nosing them pretty much, which is what that means, that there's like a sense of like you've actually helped me that goes through real comedy, but it's only given by giving your attention to somebody.
Yeah, and that I think is where the power lies in laughter yoga, too. Like it's tapping into that same thing, that appreciation, that sharing of time, because you come into the space with no judgment and you make eye contact, you're looking at people, you're in close proximity. I've had lots of people, I've had, I think it was like 4 or 5 people come up to me since I've been doing these workshops this summer, and afterwards they tell me that, and this is normally like a day or so after, this is after, like well after, and they said that they had this connection with some of the people in their laughter class. They didn't share any words, but they felt like they'd known this person very deeply. There's an emotional exchange, and it's from giving those people that non-judgmental attention. Like there's not an exchange of information necessarily, just sharing of space, like really seeing that other person in their ridiculousness, like laughing, like it's shedding a lot of boundaries.
I love this conversation because we can talk about how holding space for somebody to be ridiculously positive for the sake of being positive and laughing is just to speak of like the best part of holding space for somebody is to also subsequently speak of the other end of it, and holding space for people who are screaming and like in agony and anguish. And I find that when you exercise, and that some people are called and drawn to work with that kind of thing. I'm not, but it happens because life is tumultuous right now, and it's very fast paced. But I find that when you exercise one side of that magnetic field in the laughter yoga, it prepares you for later.
Yeah, when you have somebody who's, like, later that night you run into somebody who's laughing uncontrollably, and you can just sit there and laugh with them, and it's okay.
Or even more, like, if you find somebody who needs light in their life, if somebody's, like, not doing too well, you can laugh with them. Or say, like, hey, dude, have a good day. And then, like, that undertone is kind of like an underhanded toss to them.
And at Flux there's already people that I've run into, it's like an inside joke meme almost, where people will see me and they'll just start pointing and laughing at me, and I love it because other people will start to laugh and they'll be confused, like, why are you doing that? And then it markets itself, so people want to come to the workshop.
I feel laughter is it's infectious. It's totally it's like, it's not congenital, but it can, it is that too, but
contagious?
Yeah, it's contagious. I lose my train of thought sometimes. It's totally contagious. But I find that consciousness is contagious too, but that consciousness isn't always positive, and that it contains darkness within it, and too often we experience times where we've cried for hours, and to have gone through that is to appreciate laughter yoga. And that is the reason why I decided to, or I actually, you're one of the only people I asked to do the workshop. I think I reached out and was like, can you please do this?
Yeah. Because
the team of people I'm working with, it's like, this is a serious thing for a lot of people to embark on. It's like, we do it every week and it's our life, but to take it to the next level is a step up, and it's raising the bar. And we know that taking yourself too seriously can oftentimes be what gets you in trouble sometimes, and that's the entitlement part of any sort of project. It's like, I'm the tidal wave, and it's like, you are the tidal wave, but it always goes back to the ocean.
Yeah,
and
it
it's
pulls back in.
no one wave is the wave. It's like, it's a wave.
Yeah, and that's what I think the beauty of laughter yoga is it does exactly that. It can take in those energies, especially stagnant energies. People start laughing, they bring in lots of energy, lots of smile and solar energy. It's active energy.
And that's one thing you're entitled to. I think that entitlement exists as a word because people do inherit things. Like, there is a natural inheritance. That's what nature is. I think that the miraculous nature of nature is the nature of being. Like, the fact that you're here and you can interact with beautiful things like this aloe vera plant that kind of hurts you if you touch it too hard, but it heals you if you're burned too hard. It's like, there's an awesome balance in this all, and it's all this syncopated waveform in the life form that is life, and now I'm just kind of back to the beginning. I feel like I just spoke the truth out of that. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
I feel like you really held space for me, honestly, to get that off my chest. And honestly, right now, I don't feel nervous at all, which is amazing. 3 days from now, the festival starts. And it's not because I'm holding on to something. It's just because I feel good.
I feel good too.
Yeah, and life, it happens to you whether you feel good or not. But thank you for helping me see a few ways to where I can feel better about living through the motions of life. And I hope everybody can apply anything that we talked about today to them. And I just want to reiterate, what time's your
Noon
thing?
on Saturday.
Again, co-creation starts this Friday. I've got hard copies that are collector's edition, and I can sell them to you personally while supplies last. And I can bring them to you if you live in the Austin area. Tickets are going on sale right now for $80, and all the workshops at this festival are free. They're totally free. That means you don't have to pay to learn. I know student debt exists. That's a reality. But we're not going to put you in debt. We think that the price of this knowledge, it would cost us too much not to give the information to you. And I feel strongly about that. To be honest, I feel like we can't afford not to hear this stuff. And with that in mind, I think that just about wraps up this podcast. Please keep listening. Please keep listening. One last laugh. I had to get one last laugh.
You got it.
All right, are you say bye to everybody?
Bye. Thank you for laughing with me, hopefully. Come to co-creation.
Please go to co-creation. Namaste, brother.
Namaste.